Welcome home, neighbors.
Welcome home, neighbors.
Hello, neighbors.
We're listening from
Arizona,
Florida,
Maryland, New York,
New Jersey,
Minneapolis,
California,
Utah,
Michigan,
Massachusetts,
Georgia,
Canada,
Our home resort is
Animal Kingdom, Polynesian,
Bay Lake Tower,
Old Key West,
Riviera,
Boardwalk,
Alani Resort,
Hilton Head,
Boulder Ridge,
Copper Creek,
Grand Floridian,
Saratoga Springs,
Beach Club,
and Wilderness Lodge.
and you're listening to
and you're listening
You're listening
to
to my
DVC
Points.
Well, welcome home, everybody, to a special President's Day edition of My DVC Points Live. Today, we are doing a question and answer session where we're just going to open this up and see who has today off or who can join from work today from mydvcpoints.com/join live. If you type that into our browser, you can come back in and join our show today. And I've got some co-hosts that I'm going to be introducing. So let me bring them on in. And I'd like to welcome back to, well, first time to the live show, right, Brad?
Yeah, first time to the live show. I've texted in a couple times, but I've never been live. So
Oh,
hey,
well, yeah. Do you remember your episode number as well? I think it's like in the 60s-ish.
I don't remember yesterday. So
I don't either. So I'd have to go back and look. But we got a full interview with you, and we'd like to welcome you back to the show. You're from what? This Dad's podcast, DVC Roundtable.
Yeah, I serve on the
Resort
DVC
Loop.
Roundtable from Resort Loop. That's mainly where I am now. So
Oh, okay.
that's
Well,
how you found out about me, because we were doing the DVC Roundtable, and you went, "Hey, you should come talk on my show."
Yeah. So, okay, let me add back in as well. We've got Jennifer and Randall joining us. How are you guys doing?
Hello.
doing great.
Yeah.
Hey. And then let me bring in Susie as well.
Hello.
Hey there. Hey,
Hi.
Suze. And Suze is our first international guest. Okay. You're calling in from the UK today, right?
Yeah, Nottingham, England.
Okay. Nottingham, England. I feel like I need to get a little proper now. Oh, okay. So where are your guys' home resorts at while we wait for some people to come back in and join us live? So Brad, go ahead.
So my home resorts are Saratoga Springs. I actually bought into that when they were building it. So I've been an owner for a while. And then we bought a second contract for Animal Kingdom after we fell in love with that resort.
Awesome. And Susie, where do you own?
Polynesian and Copper Creek.
Awesome. And it sounds like pretty newer then, because those are some of the last resorts to go on sale.
Yeah, I joined in 2017 and Adonitis came a year later.
Yeah, we all know how that goes. Jennifer, Randall, where do you guys call home?
We have Animal Kingdom Lodge, Polynesian, and did a little add-on at Riviera too. We haven't been owners for as long, just a few years as well. But we love them all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. So let's see here. I see Samantha's joining us. And so hey to Jim as well. So let me throw this banner up here as well so that you guys know how to come back in and just join the live show. All you have to do is come into a smartphone and just type in mydvcpoints.com/join live. And we would love to have you come back in because this is a listener question show. We've had a lot of comments come up recently about new member kind of questions. So we wanted to have a live show today where we just let people pop in and we threw together a little panel and we'll answer your questions or see what you guys want to talk about. So to get us started, let's talk about multiple home resorts because I own, I think the list is almost as short of what I don't, but
Yeah.
Saratoga, Bay Lake, Copper Creek, Polynesian, Beach Club, and Grand Cal. Okay.
It's like when I want to go somewhere and instead of trying to figure out if I can fit, I'd want to call Chad and say, "Hey, can I get some of your points?" You own it. I know you own everywhere. So
no. It's only 6 of them. And some of them are on the chopping block because man, the dues just keep going up. And I'm like, figure out what do I love? And it's like, what child do you give up? But so anyhow, let's talk about multiple home resorts. So I'm obviously a huge fan of it, and it sounds like you guys are all a fan as well. Mm-hmm. So Suze, now did you get multiple home resorts just out of add-on-itis and that's what they were selling? Or did you really want to own at Copper Creek as well?
I really wanted to own a Copper Creek. I love Wilderness Lodge. Love it.
Yeah. And then Brad, what about you?
Kind of the same, typical. I bought the first contract, and then within a couple of years, I realized, I should have splurged and bought more points. So I needed more points. But we had been to Animal Kingdom a couple times and fell in love with that. That's still my favorite resort at Disney World. So
Now, are you Team Jumbo or Team Kidani?
I used to be Team Kidani, but the last several times I've been at Jumbo, and I think I've switched. I'm really enjoying Team Jumbo with the pool, and the parking's nice, but I don't usually drive. So at Kidani, so I think I'll go Jumbo.
Okay.
Plus, I like the club level room. So.
Oh, I'm telling you, you're gonna have to hook me up with one of them club level rooms. We'll do a point swap.
There you
Okay,
go.
I'll get you in at Grand Cal. You get me in at club level.
Yeah, now we're talking. Yeah.
We'll figure something out there. Okay, Jennifer Randall.
Like why we ended up with those resorts?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like we each have our favorite. His
Yeah.
is definitely Polynesian. You can tell
Yeah.
from what's behind us.
Tiki.
Yeah.
Ah, gotcha.
Administrator Sam. So he wanted Polynesian, and then we stayed at Animal Kingdom Lodge, and it was amazing, and it smells so good. Oh, it smells so good there. And so we had to add on there. And then when I heard about Riviera, I was like, I think this is my resort. So
Okay.
it's my favorite probably now. So
Yeah, I think for her the theme. They said France, coastline. They nailed her.
it's like they're in my brain.
Got it. Also, you're a musician, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
talking that artist, creative, musician, painter, sculptor kind of a vibe there at Topolino's kind of fits right in with that.
Yeah. Well, and having the access to Epcot and Hollywood Studios, those are our favorite parks.
Yeah.
So we needed that.
Yeah. That's awesome. And Mary, you were saying, isn't that everyone's favorite resort? Is their home resort? So I don't know about that. We're huge fans of Old Key West, and believe it or not, we don't own there. I think if you were to poll the Pennycuff family as a collective and say, everybody, what's your favorite resort, and kind of rank them, Old Key West would be at the top for like all of us. And I think it's because there's 5 of us, and at Copper Creek, we're tight. Okay. We have to go to a 2-bedroom there, but any place else we're tight, but you get that extra elbow room there. But from the multiple home resorts, the reason why I have multiples, I'm addicted to that 11-month window. Okay. And so through banking and borrowing, I can come back in and I have about half to 60% of the points that I need at any given resort to pull off my ideal stay. So I can bank Beach Club this year and then pull in all of my Copper Creek points, borrow them in from next year, and then book a full stay at Copper Creek. And then next year have enough points to book a full stay at Beach Club, and I can rotate and pop around that way.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, go ahead.
Oh, good. We're big split stay people. We pretty much always split.
Yes, always.
So it works out really great for that because we get to, it's like you do what you want to do. I do what I want to do. We go try something new. It's great.
Yeah.
Okay. So Suze, how do you do the multiple resorts?
I'm on a mission to try all of them.
Okay.
So my most that I've done in one go is 3 in 2 weeks plus a cruise. That was a little bit too much, I found. So now I've been banned, and we just try to do a week in 2 different resorts. Although I'm coming in May and doing 3 in a week, so we'll see how that goes.
3 resorts in a week?
Yeah.
Now,
that's
was that part of the? Yeah, was that part of the mission to try everything, or was that I just booked
that's
late?
part of my mission.
Okay.
No. Because of international flights, we have to book 11 months really to get the best deal on flights. So it was deliberate. I wanted to try Animal Kingdom. I wanted to go to Vero Beach, and then I'm doing Old Key West as well.
Okay.
For the first time.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. That's definitely one reason why to have that. But I could see your dilemma there. You have to book your flights and then hope at 7 months you can find some place to land.
Yeah, that was my main thing when I bought the Polynesian. I didn't really consider that it's one of the most expensive studios. What is the most expensive studio you can get? I'm not sure if Riviera is more actually now, is it? I don't know. No, Grand Floridian and Poly are the same.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
pretty neck and neck there.
Yeah.
So as a security booking, it's a bit of a risk. You have to use more points, and hopefully when you swap at 7 months, you need fewer points. So sometimes it's a bit annoying. This is one of the downsides of poly, I think.
Got it.
But then how do you get your tiki mug? This is
Dude,
That's true. I've got my tiki mugs as well. I love the poly.
that's a serious problem. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and it's also an Oga's Cantina problem too, because
Oh,
we
yeah.
came home with a Rancor beer flight a couple weeks ago. You have it? Oh, yeah.
Oh, very cool.
very
Yep.
cool.
We tried to get it at Disneyland in the summer and they were out. So we finally got it.
Yeah, I kind of know the issue there. My wife was like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "The Rancor beer flight."
Yeah.
She's like, "You don't
Obviously.
drink beer," and I'm like, "I know I don't drink beer. My buddy Pat did. He drank the beer. I just wanted the mug.
Did you order it without the drink? Will they do that?
I don't know. I mean, my buddy Pat was with me, and he drinks beer, so I was like, "Here, have some beer on me. I'm getting this." And
And what do you do with it now? What do you use it for?
so eventually,
Decoration.
Yeah,
a
exactly.
little candy holder. Decoration. Okay, it's a tax write-off because it's decoration for the lodge. Okay, let's just use that justification out there. Okay.
Maybe that's what we should do. Take the camera and pan around our rooms to show all the precious treasures that we have collected.
Yeah.
Hey man,
How
my
many
kids.
remember this mug?
Oh.
I love
Yeah, remember that mug? Galactic Knights.
Oh, I'm telling you. See, my kids curate this whole. Turn the mic over.
Yeah.
That whole line back there.
Well,
Yeah, my kids curate that for me. They try
Absolutely.
to come back in and rotate that up every now and then.
Wow.
And so, yeah, if I end up going to a green screen, which I want to do sooner or later, it's just going to mess up their whole plan. Okay. And
until
then
they learn how to put stuff on there, and then you're going to be shocked. when
yeah,
put
then
on
they
the
started
screen.
trying to say, hey, look, you need to pay rent for some of our stuffed animals,
Yeah.
because you're using them as props. So we're going to start charging for this. And I was like, yeah, no. Nope. So anyways, does anybody want to come back in and join the show? We'd love to have you come back in and just pop in and ask a question. And it's just really easy from your smartphone. Just type in mydvcpoints.com/join live. We can have up to 6 people on screen and 4 more in the background waiting to ask a question. So if you want to join the show, come back in. I'm going to turn off the scrolling banner and do that little hit there. But the other topic that we were going to talk about, multiple home resorts, will pivot into a DVC tower. Okay. Who all is excited about the new tower coming to Disneyland?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Join as fast as I can.
yeah, that is like a shut up and take my money kind of a
Yeah.
deal.
I
Okay.
think that's one area where I can probably say I stand alone in this group of people. I was a Disneyland man. Chad knows the story,
Mhm.
but I was a Disneyland man, and I bought DVC at Disneyland.
No.
But for Saratoga, that wasn't even built yet. They were building it. But they told me at the time, oh, yeah, we're going to expand out here. And da-da-da. I'm like, well, great, super. And I've learned to either use 7-month points at Disneyland or go to Disney World a lot. But I still love Disneyland. So trust me, as fast as I can buy them, oh, yeah, put it on my list.
Yep. Now, Suze, do you make it over to Disneyland? Because that's an even longer haul.
Yeah. Oof.
Because you got to cross the pond and then cross the continent.
I went when I was 18. I've only been once. That was
Yeah.
quite a long time ago now.
Yeah.
But there was only one park there, I think, at the time as well.
Oh, wow. So that's
I
like,
do want to go back. Hopefully 2022, I think, is my plan.
Wonderful.
And
Got
Ilani at the same time.
got it. That's what I'm shooting for next summer. I'm holding on to those Grand Cal points until I finish that trip. And then I'll reevaluate my love of those points. And will I amputate them and pick up some Disneyland Tower that's coming up? We'll find out. That's kind of what I'm leaning towards.
Well, we're kind of weird with Disneyland because
Yeah.
we're on the West Coast. We're in Washington State. So Disneyland is actually pretty easily accessible to us. So it's not that enticing because it's not scarce, you can get there and everybody goes there.
Yeah.
And so Disney World is like much more enticing because it's harder to get to and you have to plan much more to do it. And so we're odd because everybody says, how was your trip to Disneyland? And we're like, we didn't go to Disneyland. So, you know,
Other place.
yeah, the other one.
The other coast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
I
I mean,
think.
Disneyland
Back
Paris.
into the tower, of course, because we have used our points at Grand California, and we go now and then.
Okay. So I'm excited for it as well. And I think the general public just doesn't know the difference between
No.
Disneyland and Disney World.
Yeah.
Like, I have coworkers ask me all the time now. They're like, "Are you back in Florida again? What's your countdown?" I'm like, people in the hallways at work are like, "What's your countdown?" I mean, have you watched my show? I'm like, I start with that. Okay.
Exactly.
Anyways, now here's the other new user question that keeps coming up quite often, and we'll throw this out there as well. Multiple use years. I have all of my contracts on February use year. So do you guys get into multiple use years, single use years? How do you handle that?
I've got a single use year.
Yeah, we have one.
Yeah, we got one.
So I'm the only one in the room with two. But see, I bought so long ago, there wasn't a Chad to help instruct us.
Yeah,
There
well,
wasn't a DVC roundtable at Resort Loop, so I didn't learn that important tool early. So there's been times it's been an advantage to have a separate year, but I have one. My Animal Kingdom is in June, and then my Saratoga is in October. So I have two use years.
okay. Now, do you find that you use the contract that's going to help you always have bankable points? Because what I found with a February use year, we love going in January.
Mm-hmm.
That's the worst time of the year to go with a February use year.
Yeah.
Because if we have to cancel that trip, let's say we're going Martin Luther King weekend.
You may
We
lose
have
those
2
points.
weeks
It's too
to
close.
use those points, to use them
Yeah.
or lose them. I don't even get the full 60-day holding period.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm starting to become a fan of multiple use years if you go multiple times a year.
And you've nailed it right there. Sometimes, depending upon if it's well, I want to buy more points at Animal Kingdom, so it becomes more of a choice where I can pick this or pick that. Mainly with my Animal Kingdom, that's just points for, it's just a small 50-point contract. So I let it pile up so that I can try to get club level or value room or at Animal Kingdom. So that's just for that trip where I'm trying to, I stack them up until I get enough to get what I want. So, and that's the reason why split stays are big, because usually I'll line up club level, but I only do it for a couple of the days that I'm there, and the rest of it I can be at another resort if I want and use my other points.
So here's a question about club level. Do you get to use the club the day you get there and the day you depart?
Yes.
So you can kind of like, okay, that's
You can maximize it, yeah. If you can get it, you can.
Yeah.
You don't usually get on the computer. It's hard to get.
Yeah, it's. I mean, even at 11 months, it's like 1 out of every 3 times I try that I can actually get it. Usually, like this last time I went, but it was January, so it was marathon weekend when Chad and I was out there too, and I started from a 7-night stay. I started the first day to try to link it any day of the 7, and I never could. I got the last night of my stay finally after 7 tries. I finally got 1 day in a 1-bedroom.
So, in a 1-bedroom. So that was the easiest one to get.
Yeah, exactly. And I could barely get that. So I was like, okay, well, all right.
Yeah, Mary comments here that she does club level for a studio 2 nights and then moves to a 1-bedroom.
Yeah.
And
I've
heard that.
that would probably be a pretty good deal to do. If you could go club level for 2 nights and then hop over to a value 1-bedroom in the same resort.
And I bet Mary would attest that part of that reason is just what you guys were asking, is that for that extra day when I'm switching, I can still use the club level and do some snacks and stuff, and then and have my bags transferred over. And by going to a 1-bedroom last, I always try to do that because then you get the washer and dryer. So I can pack a little less, and most people don't like to do laundry when they're on vacation, but I don't mind doing a quick load of the things that you don't have to take a bunch of, and you just wash them real fast and dry them, and you're good.
Yeah. And she says that she's waitlisted it the last 2 or 3 years and got it.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to have to try the wait list. I guess that's the benefit of owning Animal Kingdom. If you can't get on it right at 11 month, you can at least get on the wait list at the
Right,
11-month mark ahead of the non-owners.
And the secret there is make sure when you wait list, you don't wait list like a whole week.
Yeah.
Don't try to. It's a lot less chance of getting through on the wait list if it's 7 days. If you're just doing 2 days, then you get a better shot. But you gotta pick in advance which 2 days you want to. Yeah. What's that?
Yeah. So we have an upcoming stay in a value studio, part of our trip in July, and I was just really excited to have gotten that.
Yeah. Those kind of hard
of DVC things.
Yeah, I mean, I think you lead into another good topic here, Brad, is waitlisting techniques. Okay. And so I look at I had my first waitlist come through this last, I don't know, within the last month or so. And I was waitlisting a single night at Hilton Head in August during their peak season in a 1-bedroom. I was able to, the 1-bedrooms were gone by the time I was able to get to it at like 8:04 a.m. And so I got the 2-bedroom, and then the next day I was able to pick up 2 nights in a 1-bedroom. So I was able to drop it down, and I had the 1 night left in a 2-bedroom, and then I went to 2 nights in a 1-bedroom. And so I just went on the wait list for that night, and surprisingly, I just get this email that pops up, and it says that I got it. I'm like, where was the fireworks on this? Because everybody celebrates when their wait list comes through.
Exactly.
And I'm like, this was like so unimpressive. But
everybody but Disney celebrates. It's like, yeah, you're in.
I have a suggestion about waitlist strategies. Something that I use and I had good success with was when I did waitlist things to look up the actual inventory of the room category and view type that you're, and I know that's obvious, but I hear a lot of people online and they'll complain and say, well, I can't get a wait list on a boardwalk standard studio. And it's like, well, there are like 4 times as many or something of the other view category. So I think if you just have to, like, it's a numbers game, you just have to put in your best odds, and hopefully we actually had a lot of wait lists come through that way.
She also does a thing where she'll wait list just 1 night.
Yeah, which I know they don't want you to do, but
just kind of do it multiple times. Works out.
What I'm going to do is I'll do a screen share here so that people can start to see this. Pull this back over. So I pulled it up. I think it's the most helpful screen in all of DVC. So it is over at Russ's site, dvcinfo.com. And I have it bookmarked. Okay. And if you just look at this, you can come back in and let me blow it up a little bit. Oh, wrong screen. That one. So I can blow it up. I'll even try one more. What the heck? Wish my luck. You can start to see on here the number of studios. Like at Animal Kingdom, there's 5 total club studios. Like that's it. That's why those things are so stinking hard to get.
Yeah.
Okay?
I think if people knew that, they wouldn't be so upset when they don't get it,
Yeah, so that's my point is you've got to come back in here and look at this, and you can see the number of dedicated and lock off and the number of square footage, how many people it sleeps, what's the bed configurations and all of this. But you can come down in here and just go through the list. And I wonder, does he have DRR updated here yet?
I don't think they have it on there yet.
I'll have to ping him and see if he can get it updated, because it really is the most helpful site in all of DVC. And then you can get everything from the 2 bedrooms. Now, these are the dedicated units. Okay. So you'll notice there's no boardwalk here for dedicated 2 bedrooms. Boardwalk doesn't have dedicated. They're all lock-offs. You can just scroll on down, and then here's when you see the lock-offs. And then the 3-bedroom grand villas, and then this weird little category called other units, where it's talking about the standard hotel rooms at Alani, the cabins at Copper Creek, the Poly bungalows, the Vero Beach Inn rooms, which are like a hotel room, and then the treehouse villas at Saratoga. I wish you'd just write out the word treehouse, but
Mary's asking what the website is, the DVC info.
Yeah, it's dvcinfo.com. And so Mary comes back in. Just copy the link. If I can.
So the Tower Studios aren't in that other units category?
I don't think that
They-
Riviera is on there.
They would be whenever he gets
Wow.
that to come back in. So, yeah, I just pasted the link and I saw it go out to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope. So, yeah, that's the link to this little chart. And like I said, I think it's the most helpful page in all of DVC right now. And I even have a DVC website. So that's saying
I
a
think
lot as
people
to how
saw
useful
that
this is.
before they bought. That would probably help
Mhm.
manage
Yeah.
people's expectations a lot better.
Mhm.
Yeah, it would, because you can come back into it. Like if we scroll over to this Copper Creek Studios, I did a poll in a group of about 3,000 Copper Creek members to say, hey, how many of you guys bought with the intention of staying in a studio?
Yes.
All of them.
It's very hard to get a studio at Copper Creek.
Yeah, 68% of the Copper Creek owners bought with the intent of staying in a studio. And if you look at this info here, okay, this is saying, hey, look, there's 36 and 42. Okay, that comes out to 78 total bookable studios that are there. Well, out of the whole entire resort, that's like 47% of the inventory. So 68% of the owners want it, but only 48% of the bookable rooms are that category.
Right.
So that's where Houston, we have a problem with getting a studio over at Copper Creek.
It's
So-
really hard. Even on the right day at 11 months, it's really quite hard to get.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that's something that resort kind of has going against it, which I think they learned their lesson when they did the Riviera Resort and they started to come back in and build in a whole lot more studios.
Which kind of plays to what Mary Wells was saying in the chat. She asked about. She said, wasn't it Mary that said, doesn't everybody own at their favorite resort? And the truth is, I think a lot of us second contracts for sure end up being because we fall in love with a resort and we're like, but I can't ever get in there. So you end up buying the contract. So you got a shot at 11 months. But yeah, invariably, everybody I always ask, why can't you get into a value at Animal Kingdom? Why can't you get a club? Why can't you get into Grand Californian? And then what you just shared, Chad, it's real simple. Either A, they have very little inventory, so they're gone real fast.
Yeah, I mean,
or everybody bought just to get into that one. And studios are always the toughest. If you're willing to go into one bedroom and you can pull it off, you're going to always have a better shot. I don't think there's a resort out there that books one bedrooms faster than studios.
Well,
No.
I think one dilemma I've seen is that with Polynesian, they don't have anything besides.
Well, that's
No,
true.
It's really easy to get a studio at Folly.
We didn't need our 11-month window for the times we travel. It's been no problem for Polynesian.
the only
There's nothing
time,
else.
yeah, the only reason why I bought 100 points at Poly was for President's Day weekend. This last weekend,
Mhm.
and I looked at it and I made the mistake of only buying 100 points. Well, when they adjust the point charts, 100 won't cover it. It'll be like 102. So I should have bought the 110 like the guide told me to at the time, just for point adjustments. But I was like, no. We'll just keep it at 100. Okay. But that's the only reason why I did it was for holiday weekends, is because there's 5 of us, we can fit in there. And on a holiday weekend, we thought, well, we don't really need a washer dryer. We're only here for 3-4 nights. We'll pop in, pop out. And then Poly is so central. And then come to find out, we didn't really need it, at all, because there's so many studios there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think over,
Good. I mean, I'm happy. I can't complain, even though we have a contract there. It's not a huge one, so it's fine.
yeah. And Brad, you mentioned Grand Cal, and the issue at Grand Cal is there's 48 bookable rooms there.
Total.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh.
And the shakedown is 23 lock-offs, which means 23 studios, 23 one-bedrooms, and then 23 two-bedrooms. They are so grossly over-proportioned on the 2 bedrooms there.
Yeah.
It's not funny. Okay.
If
And
you
then
got a
there's-
shot there, it's a 3-bedroom or 2-bedroom. And the 3s are tough too, because there's only like 3 of them, I think.
There's
3 or
2.
4.
There's
2.
2.
Yeah.
There's one that faces Pixar Pier, and there's one that overlooks the pool.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
stayed in the studio there last July.
Ooh, good for
crazy.
you.
Wow.
7
Get it
months.
7 months.
7 months. Yeah.
Wow.
And
That's
I
awesome.
couldn't believe it. We just kept looking, and it was, we knew Star Wars Galaxy's Edge was going to be open. We thought there's no way. And I was looking at 7 months, and I was just kind of monitoring, and it looked like there was maybe a shot. And so I said to him, hey, why don't I just give it a try? Any day, we'll try several days, whatever I have to do. And I got up, and for us, booking, what is it, 7 a.m. Eastern?
Mm-hmm.
4 a.m. Eastern for us. So I'm up at about 3:45 any day I want to do the early booking. And so it's really early for us. So I go downstairs and I get on there. I'm like, I'm never going to get this. I'm never going to get this. And boom, I got it. 3 nights in a studio.
And you wake up the whole house yelling and celebrating.
No,
Right?
I played it really cool. I went back upstairs and he's like, so you're going to try again tomorrow? And I was like, I guess we're going to California.
Yeah.
So, so now I'm like, well, okay, bring it on. What's the next hard to book room I can do?
What time of year was it? July, summer?
July,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's crazy.
Let's hope.
Was it midweek?
Yeah.
Were they midweek?
Well,
days?
what were you going to say?
So what makes it even funnier, right, is so our kids, right? So we're lined up to take our kids with us, and we're like, okay, we can take you guys, and we hadn't told them yet, of course. And then there was a few weeks where they're particularly difficult, and we were like, you know what? We're gonna do this by ourselves.
So we never told them that we went to Disneyland.
Yeah. We borrowed the neighbor's kids. You're not going.
Wow. Like I would have at least told them that they're sitting home and not going to Disney.
They're too little to really understand.
Yeah. They would have briefly cried, but then we need to like kind of be a searing burn, you know, kind of.
No, honestly, we thought it would be we'd be waiting in a bunch of lines to get into Star Wars. And so we thought this is easier with just adults.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So
Gina makes a really good comment here. She goes, I think Grand Cal was not expecting people to stay more than a few days. That most people in California stay 1 or 2 nights, which if you look at the new proposed room inventory for the new DVC tower, it's like the vast majority of studios. And I think that's the reason why, is because, you know, who needs a kitchen and all of that space when you're just there for 1 or 2 nights? You really just are looking for a nice crash pad or a flop house, to use Andrew's terminology, over at Disneyland. Okay. And here they built these massively cool units, and the vast majority of them have kitchens. Okay. Out of 48 units, only 23 don't have a kitchen.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting because what is it? It's like 200 studios or something altogether.
Yeah. Yeah. And
sounds great.
yeah, two grand villas. Okay. So you still have that option. So that's kind of nice if you want one. And then there is, what are we looking at? There was very few, like 20, 30, maybe 1-bedrooms. And there wasn't a whole lot there to come back in and fill that up with. Right?
I think they adjusted didn't they adjust the numbers, and that there was going to be now like 390 as far as total units, 380.
Yeah.
Like that's what I heard. So,
which puts it right up there, like right about the Bay Lake Tower size and right about the Riviera size in terms of number of rooms. Now they're smaller rooms because the vast majority are studios, but they're also adding several, like 14, 16 floors, something like that, Brad.
that sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't see how
It's
many
above
floors, but
10. I know that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. It's because it's going to match up with the other towers. I don't know if it's exactly the same number of floors, but they're going to aesthetically look the same.
Like 4 times as many rooms there, like at Disneyland, available for people, which I think is like
For
great.
DVC, yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No brainer.
Yeah, and I'm hoping it'd be nice if they would build it a little bit higher than the other towers so that there was some kind of a rooftop experience, or
Oh, yeah.
that you could look over the other towers
That's a good point.
and still
Because
see
it will be on the
fireworks and
back
what have you.
side. Yeah. That's a
Yeah,
good
it'll
point.
be on the far side. Okay.
Yeah.
So I just don't know how high they can get there with costs and earthquakes and everything else. Okay?
And limitations. They'll have certain limitations how high they can go. So,
yeah, absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
really
on that
crazy.
one.
so I was going to mention something to Gina for Gina's comment. I think Grand Californian wasn't expecting as many people to stay, and that's a good point. I mean, that was very early on in the kind of the DVC cycle when they were building those. But one thing about that is that the main reason they only built so few rooms, that wasn't why they built so few rooms. They built so few rooms because they were landlocked. There's very little space over there, and they maximized the amount of space they could do without. at that time cutting into parking, which they couldn't give up because they didn't have the other developed parking yet. So,
Yeah, they actually built that wing onto Grand California.
right, on the existing property. I think they
Right.
expanded it slightly, but it's just a wing off of the other resort. So there was only so much space.
Yeah, because Nick Cotton was giving me some photos of the resorts to use, and the photo that he took was from the pool, looking out with visibility to Pixar Pier and the pal around, the big Mickey's Fun Wheel, okay, or
Right.
whatever we're calling it now, okay. And I'm looking at that today, kind of scratching my head, and I'm going, the DVC wing is like blocking that view. So it's kind of ironic that I've got that photo of that from there, because it's like, okay, this was obviously pre-wing.
Yeah, you actually get a better view from Paradise Pier than you do from Grand California as far as the park that it has a private entrance into.
But let me tell you, I had a 5th floor 1-bedroom overlooking Paradise Pier last time, and it was the most incredible room view I've ever had.
Well, you're right there. I mean, you're like on top of it. It's really cool when you get a good view.
Absolutely. And then on top of that, you're looking right over it, and even comparing it to Bay Lake, you're so much closer to the theme park.
Right. Exactly. You're right there. Yeah.
Yeah, but my wife, she can't get over the small castle. That's
We can talk about the castle.
Calm yourself.
Performed at
Calm
Disneyland.
yourself.
Everything's ruined when you perform someplace because you've been backstage.
I got to see the Utilidors this year, so I finally did the tour. Yeah. Don't have that at Disneyland. No sneaking around.
No.
I'm very serious about.
So now, which tour did you sign up with, Brad, to get that?
The 7-hour one was Keys to the
Kingdom.
Keys of the Kingdom. Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah, Keys to the Kingdom.
Yeah. We finally splurged and did that one, and it was good. It was good. I enjoyed it.
Oh,
It's not
awesome.
one I'll do all the time.
Now, have you
Max-
done Walk and Walt's Footsteps over at Disneyland?
Yes.
That one was really cool.
And see, I won't get in an argument and debate, but I'm fine with the small castle. I just, you fall in love with what you fall in love with. And Disneyland was that place I fell in love with. And I love Disney World.
Disneyland was backstage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Way
And there
to-
is no backstage. I know, because early on, I used to have to put on the tutu to dance in the parades with my daughters back in the day when you could do that. Yeah, yeah. So I've been in that backstage area where it's like you're just packed in like sardines.
Right, exactly. And it was very unmagical, and I was
No,
like,
not magical at all.
so I grew up going to Disney World because I have family in Florida. So
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Got it.
Susie-
We've got somebody who's,
Oh, go
well,
ahead.
they were joining us live, but they didn't have their microphone set. So I saw them down there and I couldn't pull them in.
Susie, I was going to ask you, because or it was said earlier, when do you get up to book your fast passes and stuff? What's the time delay? for you?
Lunchtime. It's at lunchtime.
Yeah. Oh,
so
you
about-
poor thing.
Honest.
Oh.
I know, it's awful. Fast passes, everything. Yeah, lunchtime.
So here's my
Yeah.
problem. I'm actually as my hobby, I'm a Disney travel planner. And so specialized in Disney for the last 7 years. And so I'm always booking fast passes for my clients, Jennifer, and I have to get up at 5 a.m. So
yeah,
it's the main reason all my clients want to book with me. He's like, you get up and do
I
all
would
this.
every day.
So I don't have to do it at 4. So I guess I'm lucky there.
And
Brad-
you lived in Hawaii, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. What's
Yeah,
that shit?
So Brad, where's the booking for Disney Cruise Line? Okay. Because that's my next one that I got to worry about.
As far as using points?
No, for like booking all the offshore stuff and like Palo and Remy and all that other kind of the add-ons that you would book on a Disney cruise.
Mhm.
When's that date?
Oh, when can you book those things when you're looking to book? This is your first one, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think you're 110 days. No, I'm sorry, 90 days. You're 90 days.
90-day mark. Is that about the time when final payment is due?
Yes.
Okay, so
It's like when you make your and here's a side note. It's one of the things that Disney doesn't always tell you. I am a gold member now on my way to platinum. Okay, so I can book earlier, but I can't book until I've paid in full. So I have to pay in full earlier so that I can try to get a cabana. So yeah, so you still have to pay in full, but as a first timer, basically they're at the same time. And
Got it.
yeah, Gina just said 90 days. That's correct. Yeah, 90 days out, which is the time you have to make your final payment. So
Got it.
yeah.
Well, if anybody has any questions you want us to cover today, go ahead and throw that comment out there, or just type into a web browser, mydvcpoints.com/join live from your smartphone. Don't try to click the link through Facebook, because it'll bring up a Facebook browser and that just gets it difficult. You just go ahead and type that back in there. So, yeah, so we'd like to see if anybody's got any questions for us. So far, I saw one person try to join, but they didn't have their audio issues worked out that they could come in. I think you have to grant permission to the microphone and camera and that kind of stuff. So that the web
So it looks
browser-
like Andrew Darden just said that the first time cruisers window is 75 days, not 90. So Andrew, I don't have that screen up. So with the 90-day, was that silver? So actually gold members then? Because that doesn't sound right. It seemed like as a gold member, I booked 90. Oh, I bet if you're silver. So on your second to fifth cruise, you book at 90.
Well,
days. It's probably
except for the fact that as a blue card holder, we start off at silver. Okay.
I don't think
So-
we do.
Yeah,
Well-
that's a new perk. It's a new perk.
Oh, is
I
it?
got
Oh,
you start off as silver as a blue card holder, even though on your first cruise.
Ooh.
So then after you book your first cruise, you have one and you're still one silver. They don't give you an additional credit. They just
Mhm.
start silver at 0 to 5, something along those lines. So
I'm pretty sure that's always been the case, not just blue card member. I hadn't heard about that, but but you may be right. Maybe because you're a blue card, maybe you get to book at 90. Maybe that's what they're talking
yeah,
about.
because I know
You're
I got
always
to, I
get
got
on
to
the boat-
actually book the cruise with the
Yeah.
silver people. Okay. Being
Okay.
my first cruise, but they had to have my DVC number to do it.
Okay, well that must be it then. Maybe that's yeah, cool.
Yeah. See, Andrew was saying here 1 to 5 cruises, right?
Correct.
It's silver castaway. But if you're a DVC blue card person, you're automatically silver. So
So,
0 to 5.
But because the first time cruiser, technically, once you get on the boat, you're silver. Because they'll give you a lanyard that shows you as a silver member. But you're right. First time members, he was right. It was at 75. So that's kind of cool. That's a neat perk.
Yeah. And I think we'll get a red lanyard for being DVC blue card holders. So I think that's what they do. I'm not sure. I've never been on the boat before.
I get a gold one, so I don't know.
And my first cruise was in 2017, and we got just a red lanyard. We didn't get one of the silver ones.
Okay. So yeah.
But
so
I've
that
just
was
got my
'cause you were
second one,
DVC.
and now I'm silver, so I'm not sure.
Got
Now,
it.
when you got your red one, were you a DVC owner at the time?
Yeah, I went to, but you had to go to the little DVC members area to collect
Right.
it, and your baseball cap, free baseball cap. It's quite good.
Yeah. So it was a DVC, a red lanyard for DVC. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. That's very cool. Now, Suze, do you take any of the European Disney cruises? Or do you
No,
fly down here to come in? And,
I don't want to go to Europe. No,
No.
sorry, I'm all the time.
That's
like
how we
Disneyland
feel about
Paris.
Crete.
Yeah, I don't want to go to
Where we
Disneyland
live.
Paris either. Thanks.
Got
No,
it.
I'm doing I've done the Bahama one, and I'm doing it again in October.
Got it.
More
So-
sun. That's nice.
You know, if they had like a Viking cruise, but it's like Disney, you know, where it's
Adventures
like
by Disney.
Yeah, they have
Oh,
one.
okay.
Adventures by Disney. Yeah.
Got it. Vicky asks a really good question here. And it's kind of like right up my alley for what I like to play in. It's kind of like in my wheelhouse, so to speak. But she goes, she's considering buying an Old Key West 2042 resale contract, but I'm assuming I will have to
Ooh.
expect to use it until it expires. Do you think in 10 years there will be a market to resell it? And
Mm.
I think once we cross the 20 mark, I think the reality is going to kick into people that start hearing teens years, that I think the prices are going to start to come down accordingly. And we're going to start adjusting those for that years left on
Even the beach club,
contract. Even the beach club,
even
because
boardwalk.
I think those two are going to come into it, because beach club is now to the point, if you buy that thing direct at like $225 a point or whatever the heck it's going
Oh,
for,
it's crazy.
No one would
It-
buy it direct, would they?
well, they're still doing it.
Yeah.
Okay. But
Beach club.
They
You
will
are
if they start
paying-
taking the points back and then reselling them. But
but here's the deal. If you buy that contract direct, you figure out, okay, divide by years left, it's
Yeah.
X per point, and then you add the dues to the point. It's cheaper to just go rent beach club points.
Mm.
Okay. So I think sooner or later, the pixie dust high that, we're all kind of on is going to wear off, and enough buyers are going to come back in and start to do that. So I told you, like, some contracts are on my chopping block. And as much as I love beach club, it's my favorite resort. I'm thinking of dumping it just while the getting out is good before the market starts to go down on it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my take on beach club. And the average DVC owner we know holds a contract for about 8 years, and then they're ready to sell it. And that doesn't matter if you buy direct or if you buy resale. So to me, I'm looking at it going, okay, if you were to buy this and it would have about 12 years left on it when you get ready to sell it, it's still going to have some value and it could be even more valuable to somebody because they know, hey, in 12 years, I'm buying in, and in 12 years, I'm gone. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in and out of this commitment, and I can go on with my life. So I still think there's going to be a market there for those contracts up until the last couple of years of it, when the closing costs for all of this real estate stuff just really gets to be cost prohibitive. Okay. Because you still have to pay title insurance and
Right.
agent dues and all that other kind of administrative costs. And I think when that gets to the point where it's cost prohibitive is when you'll start to see those things bottom out.
So I know there was one resort where they did an extension, right? Has there been any resort that they have let lapse?
No.
Old
yet.
Key West was the trial of that,
Uh-huh.
and they just didn't market it well. They didn't execute it very well. And so very few percentage of the people actually took up that extension offer. And then they offered it again, and a few more picked it up. Excuse me. But nothing like they had hoped on that. So I think sooner or later, they're going to have to come back in. And I think probably 10 or 12 years from at that time, Vicky, they'll start offering some other extensions at the other resorts. And they'll probably come back in and start re-offering Old Key West because they've already set precedent for that. And they've already got a bunch of people who are expiring in 2042 and a bunch more that can go to 2057. So that's just my own thoughts on it, because I can't see that amount of points coming back in. We know how fast they can sell points. Okay. And you're talking about 3 years to sell out a resort. Between Copper Creek, 3 years. It was a little shorter. It's a little smaller. But I would say it'll take a solid 3.5 years, maybe 4, to sell out Riviera completely. And then once they do that, they've got the next couple lined up to build. But when 2042 rolls around, they're going to have to make some hard decisions. Like, are we going to keep renewing Hilton Head and Vero? If anybody was on the chopping block to not get renewed,
Be those two for sure. Yeah.
I could see those two being okay, especially Hilton Head with all of the hurricanes and the high dues and all of that and the seasonality of the resort. I could see them doing a piece out on Hilton Head. Vero, what's that?
I was gonna say we did a podcast discussion on this not too long ago on the roundtable, specifically about that. I think you and I talked about it too. The reality is, exactly what Chad's saying. Think about it. I think there's 6 total resorts expiring in 2042, or was it 4 or 5? How many was it?
Well, let's count them. It'll be some of Old Key West. Okay.
Wilderness, not Wilderness Lodge, but part of Wilderness Lodge.
Yeah. So if we go in order, it goes like Old Key West, Hilton Head, Vero, Boardwalk, Boulder Ridge, and Beach Club. That would be 6.
Okay. So of those, even if 2 of them they did away with, keep in mind this takes 3 years to sell those out again. True. But that would mean now 4 resorts coming out of the market all at once. And if they're still building, so there could be 6 to 7 resorts are trying to sell points. It's going to take longer than 3 years to sell that many points. So it only makes sense that they're going to come up with some plan to try to eliminate, do some extensions and stuff. But the truth is, Vicky, it's all just a real guess. But one thing you can probably count on, you say 10 years from now, so that's 2031, and the contract ends in 2042. So that's only 11 years left on the contract. Susie, you made a good point. certain resorts are going to carry their value better than others. That's true now, and it will always be that way. Go on the resale market. You can buy up Vero Beach and Hilton Head for, coffee money. I mean, it's crazy, much cheaper, but
You get those in the 60s, 70s a point. Easy.
But try to go buy some of Chad's Grand Californian,
or Beach Club or Boardwalk.
Yeah, exactly.
And have the same exact expiration date.
Yeah.
Okay.
But 10 years out, it's going to weaken. But you said, will there still be a market? There'll always be a market, but will it be as healthy of a market? And I think we can pretty much figure it. When it's 10 years out from expiration, market's going to get weak. Just how weak it's going to get. I guess we'll find out.
Part of the thing is the age of the buyer, is a factor.
It's good too.
If you're kind of maybe retirement or whatever, and you don't plan on using it quite as long, maybe the value is still there for you. But
hey, stop that.
We wouldn't buy anything older than Animal Kingdom. So, because we bought our first contract in our 30s, and so we would like to use it for most of our lives. Hopefully,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Well,
so it depends on the buyer too.
I mean, and I guess for my point, these resale restrictions, what really just hit me the hardest was I intended to come in, stay in for 8 to 10 years, write it out of a contract, sell it for what I have into it, and then go buy something else that's got a longer expiration date. Okay. And just keep doing that so that I stay ahead of this curve that Vicky's talking about. And now with the resale restrictions, that's not quite an option anymore. Like even buying their own stuff to me isn't as appealing as it used to be. If it wasn't for the fact that I knew they don't have a lot of space at Disneyland Tower to keep coming back in and draining another swamp and popping up a new building, okay, I wouldn't be so gung-ho on Disneyland Tower. But the reality of it is they are landlocked there, and their options to do that are pretty slim.
Yep.
So I think that resort will continue to hold value even on a restricted resale market. Because let's face it,
because
nobody buys Grand Cal today to use at the 7-month mark.
No.
Okay?
Yeah.
Like you don't do that today. You don't buy Grand Cal that way. You don't buy Beach Club that way, and you don't buy Boardwalk that way.
Yeah.
So those are what we call destination resorts. And I think the DVC Tower will fall into line with that as well.
Our Riviera resort's turning into that for us.
And that's a good point too, because I've heard that a lot from people. That's when they bought. You ask why, they said because we love that resort and the location, and that's where we plan to stay. They're not worried about the resale restrictions because they don't plan on selling. So,
and even if they do, they just have to find another buyer who thinks the same way they do.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of the silver lining in that for them. Now, where they're going to run into a brick wall is when they build the next Saratoga. Okay. Where nobody wants to stay there. Okay. There's some Saratoga fans out there, but by and large, you buy a Saratoga contract today to get cheap points to use elsewhere. So that's just the bottom line truth of it. So
are people like, in terms of the new one, Reflections, are people really interested in that? I haven't kind of kept track, but it doesn't seem like as many people are as interested in that as they are in Riviera.
I don't know. It's hard to gauge.
It's hard to gauge, but I can tell
early.
you, I started a Riviera or Reflections owner group Facebook page to just get ahead of that curve. And very few people are clicking the links to join it. If Disney Park Blogs does a article on it or something like that, I might get 1 or 2 people asked to join the group. Okay. And so I don't know that there's too many Riviera or Reflections owners groups out there yet. So if you're looking
We don't
for
really
them,
know enough about it though, do we? I don't think.
No, but and it gets back to that. As soon as Disney Park Blogs does something, we see a couple people asked to join this. So that's how we can start to gauge the interest there. But again, it's just like, man, we have Boulder Ridge, we have Copper Creek.
Yeah.
You're so close in theming and you're so close in proximity. What's going to distinguish this between the two?
And in its own way, it's going to be a little bit similar, and it's not the same, but it's going to be a little bit similar with a problem as Animal Kingdom. Because I know. I was just reading that too. I know what you're reading right now. So, but anyway,
sorry, Marianne.
but,
Love
yeah,
you.
no,
Mean
we
it.
love, and we
Okay.
love your resort. So easy.
So, yep.
But,
Nobody would poop in the new rooms.
but Reflections is going to be out on the outskirts.
Yep.
So anybody wanting to go to the other parks, it's going to be a long haul, even worse than even Boulder Ridge and all those.
But the other
Because it's
Mary
tucked
backs
way over
me
there.
up here, so I feel a little vindicated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do wonder, is there ever a limit to the number of people, the potential buyers for DVC? I know like there are people like all of us for whom it fits, but we have a lot of friends that'll ask us about it and then it doesn't fit. It doesn't make sense for them. And I wonder, is there a finite amount of potential buyers and is Disney ever going to max that out? I don't know.
That's a really good question because there's only so many people who commit to go to Disney every
Mhm.
year. Now,
As
the,
it,
the good news is they should have access to all of that data through the hotel booking side
Mhm.
because they track everything that we do through My Disney Experience, all of our hotel stays. They track us like mice on property with the little RFID magic bands. Okay,
Yeah.
so they know how many people are out there that are potential clients for this. And
Yep.
I can tell you, we've studied this long enough to know once you do buy, the average person's there for 8 years. Whether that's I buy in when my kids are small, the kids get to teenage years, they lost interest, or we buy in when they're small, they get to teenage years. Oh my God, now we need money for college. And you look over and you go, wow, this contract that I paid $63 a point for, I can get 100 for now. College bills are coming, amputate the DVC. Okay. Who knows? Like that's a
I think-
really good question.
as a travel planner, I think because we get this all the time, and this is the question that gets asked all the time, huh, Chad? It's how many people and when are we going to hit the bubble? And it's all just a guess. But I think we can tell by very empirical data from this last year that we're getting there because of the sheer discounts that Disney keeps putting out for tickets and the numbers. If you follow the charts on crowd numbers were down this last year. A lot of times when people say, man, usually it's packed, but it's not so bad. It's really weird. And I think, and it's all about, it's all about the price, Jennifer, but I think
gotta
there'll
be the
always
price.
be people that want it, but there's just not going to be people that can afford it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've also got that Galaxy's Edge fear as well because everybody
Yes.
thought it was going to be absolutely
Oh.
crazy, so everybody started
You
saying,
can't
"I'm gonna
get in
stay
there when it
away."
opens.
So I think that I think they created too much hype there and it kind of backfired.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a question over here by we got to chatting so much, but it was oh my gosh, where is it? It was a guy that was in there that asked a question. Oh, Alan Thompson. Did you see that one there, Chad? Given that people buying resale at the original 14 resorts can't stay at Riviera, do you think that? Oh yeah, that's the one. Yep.
Yeah, so that's a great question there, Alan, as well. Do we think that Riviera rentals will be in more demand? Okay. And here's what I think is going to happen. Okay. I think if the price goes down on this and it doesn't end up being a destination resort, and it's the scenario that everybody thought it would be, by the time all of these 50% of these buyers in 8 years are saying, hey, we want out, and the price drops down to $100 a point, I think it's going to be an ideal deal for commercial renters to buy up these contracts. Okay. People that are what we call point pirates out there, they buy a contract and then they book Christmas week at 11 months. They book Run Disney weekend. And then you see them out there advertising these rooms for rent that are guaranteed reservations, and they're primo weeks and reservations, but they're charging a higher than rental rate on it. Okay. I think it's going to set the market up for those people to just come in and thrive. Okay. The other thing that I see starting to happen, I haven't heard of anybody doing it yet, but my eyes are on it and I'm thinking about it myself, is to just create a program where we can do 11-month swaps. Okay. And create our own little RCI program member to member level. Okay, where okay, you want me to book you some Grand Cal, Brad? I'll do it, and then you book me a club level, and then we figure out the point difference and settle up that way. I see an entrepreneur getting together and creating a platform to bridge that relationship. Okay, is where I think that thing will end up going. Because when you look at the history of resale restrictions, every time they come out with a new restrictions, an entrepreneur scratches his head and comes up with a solution and figures out a workaround. They take away cruises. Oh, great. Cruise swap program. Okay.
Yeah,
By the way, we're
exactly.
half the cost. Okay. Oh, you can't get this. Well, okay. Here's an annual pass to get your merch discount. Okay. There's all these workarounds every time they try to do it. And I just think the demand for Disney and the entrepreneurial market is so hot. Sooner or later, people will figure out, and the market itself will figure out a workaround for this. And I think that rental thing that you mentioned is going to be what drives us and what happens. That's just my own pontifications and thought process there.
No, it's definitely going to happen. I mean, it's tough because you look at Disney and you say, well, there's always going to be demand, at least from my perspective. And more so now that Disney Plus is out there, I feel that their marketing machine is just getting started. And I think,
We don't have that yet. Disney
Oh,
Plus.
You
Next
guys
month.
don't have.
Next month.
You need a Swede VPN or something, because didn't they get it earlier up there?
Oh, we actually had Disney Life, which is sort of similar for quite a while, but it hasn't got all the cool stuff like the Imagineering program or the Mandalorian or anything on it. So we're still waiting for that.
Oh my gosh! If I was over there, I'd
I
be
know.
figuring out some crazy VPN solution and signing up for a US account.
It's got to
or
be
something.
patient.
So no, I'd be taking a workaround. Okay.
I know it's completely off topic, but I just have to throw out there that Randall got to go to Shanghai Disneyland in November, and he got to ride the Tron roller coaster. So he kind of previewed it for all of us, and it was good, right?
yeah, it was great. I mean, I don't know. You look at all the stuff that they're doing, and they're just kind of hitting home runs left and right. And I'm just kind of wondering, they're, in the past you've seen Disney has had some lulls in their productivity and like in their creativity, and I feel like now they're more cresting. And I don't know, maybe the demand will drop off later on, but at least with the kind of theme park wars going on right now, it seems like everything's in demand, and it's just kind of like boosting everybody up.
Yeah, I don't see the demand going away anytime soon. Okay. No. And I think worst case scenario, even as DVC owners, if the economy starts to get into a cool down, we might have to lower our rental income prices some, but they're already beating Disney's prices so badly that I don't think we'll ever have a problem. And I'm looking at it today going, last I looked at DVC rental store, there was 550 plus orders out there where 550 families want to get our points, and we're not giving them up because we want to use them. Okay. And so that's why they're coming up with the creative cruise swap programs and other incentives to come back in and go, hey guys, you can still get your Disney fix, but if you want to do it at a better cruise swap than what Disney does it, here's a great alternative. Okay. And so I don't ever see demand going to the point where we have anything to worry about as owners if we can't go. There's just too much demand out there. Yeah. But that being said, Randall, tell us a little bit about Tron. Where would you compare it to, or where would you rank it in all of this?
Tron. Okay. This is a tough one.
Is it like Rock and Roll Roller Coaster? Is it?
I would say it's competitive. I think maybe I like Rock and Roller Coaster better just because of the music. But Tron is definitely a cool ride, and kind of the orientation that you're in, you're really kind of in the motorcycle orientation, so you're really hunched over and
more like Flight of Passage, kind of a. That's what I heard.
Yeah, it more comfortable though. I'll say that much. They kind of learn their lesson there. It kind of like goes around your calves, but it also like shifts forward, so you're kind of got some more flexibility there.
Does it do any inversions?
No, there are no inversions, if I remember correctly. But you know, it's like the theming of the area is excellent, right? So I mean, it's tip top there in terms of that. And you just, I mean, at the same time you look at it, you're like, oh, it's just neon. You just put neon everywhere. You just kind of
Yeah, well,
there. But I'll
make
say
it a dark ride and throw some neon strips up and call it a day, right?
pretty much, you know, it's but it was a great ride. Better than Slinky Dog, I'd say for sure. And you know, it's tough. I really like the Space Mountain in Paris. And I might put that above it. That might be my favorite. Like might be Space Mountain Paris, Rock and Roller Coaster, and then maybe Tron.
I think something that's helpful is like he's a pretty big guy. He's like 6'4", and the fact that you were comfortable on the ride. And the first time he did Flight of Passage, he was kind of jammed in and sort of
Yeah.
So,
But it was very comfortable. And Alan here makes this comment that, let me find it here.
he did Tron too.
Yeah, that he did Tron in Shanghai is amazing. I did a solo trip there and spent most of the day looping on Tron. I can't wait for it to land in WDW. It'll be the best ride in Magic Kingdom. Very short, though.
Oh, I have a question, though. Do we think that Space Mountain will go down for major refurb or to get redone once they have Tron because it needs it? Am I the only one that thinks this?
I look at man, if they were to pull a Disneyland refurb on Space Mountain,
oh, yes.
that would just be so amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
The Disneyland version just kicked it up 10 notches when they did that refurb there.
Yeah, and I think once they have Tron, they maybe have the flexibility to actually do something like that.
That's a good point, and it'll kind of relieve the tension in that area. So it's possible.
Or at least take it. Yeah.
Let's all hope for it because it could use some help.
Yeah. I mean, we'll still take it. Like, we're still going to ride it a lot.
Yeah.
But it could be a lot better.
This is very, very, very true. So, okay, guys. Well, if you guys, I'll give one last shot for somebody to try to come back in, and nobody's joining us today. Well, somebody tried, but if you want to join the show, come back in and pop in and ask a question from your smartphone. Bring you on, ask your question, we'll discuss it, and then we'll move on. But I'll give another couple of minutes here for anybody who wants to do that. Man, when I did this post, there was all kinds of people on it saying, yeah, I want to join. And I guess everybody's at work and don't want to, get caught, on their cell phone from work. Okay. But I guess the other thing that shocked me was a lot of people don't have today off. And I know it's a federal holiday. It's a banker holiday. And
I do now. Thanks to you. Thanks a lot. So, since I'm my own boss, it's all good.
Yeah. There you go, Brad. There you go.
So sorry to go back to Shanghai Disney. It was interesting to go there though, because that park is huge. Like the real estate they built into that place, you just spent a lot of time walking, and it was interesting to see kind of the cultural differences in terms of parks. To see, they're focused more on strolling and kind of walking places, and I think in Shanghai they're very interested in having kind of more open spaces, and it was just it was interesting to see that because. You'd have to, if I walked from one side of the park to the other, it was about twice as far as it would be at Magic Kingdom.
Really?
Wow. Wow.
It was like, you really had to hoof it if you were like, had a fast pass on the other side of the park.
So Alan brings up this really good question that he wonders if Space Mountain will get a Star Wars overlay like Disneyland Paris. And they occasionally do Hyperspace Mountain at Disneyland Resort, okay, here on the U.S. side,
and it's
that would
really
be
cool.
Nice. Yeah, it would be nice. From what I'm told, because Walt Disney World is such a worldwide destination, they don't like doing the overlays because it could be somebody's first visit, and they will never get to do the original ride that everybody talks about. So they'll miss out on the original to come back in and do that. Whereas Disneyland here is more of a locals park and return visitors. So that's actually a draw to people to come back in and do the overlays.
Also, there's no on-ride audio in Disney World. So that would cut back a lot of the experience, I think. you know, because the music, obviously I'm all about the music. The music's like such a huge part of the experience. And if there's very little of that, I mean, yeah, there are speakers around in the ride, but I noticed when we were just at Disney World a couple weeks ago, one side of Space Mountain, the speakers were working in like around the track, and the other side, they weren't even working. So it was like, the audio was just kind of not a component really of the experience. So I feel like even if you had it, it's not going to be the same.
I've also heard that part of the problem is the structure is different at Disney World. The inside, the roof and everything is different, so they have to redo it to create the screens that they are able to do at Disneyland. There's things that obstruct more at Disney World, so they can't really project on the roofs the same way. It's what I've heard, but
Yeah.
we keep hearing stuff from everybody but Disney. I guess it only matters till we hear from them.
Yeah. Andrew asked a really good question here. Why doesn't Disney build more studios? And I think they learned their lesson on Copper Creek, like we talked about earlier in the show today. And we haven't seen room inventory come up yet for Reflections. That'll be a telltale sign, but I can imagine they will be building a lot more studios there. And because we did see the numbers from Disneyland Tower, and it is a vast majority. We're talking like 60, 70, 80% studios. It is way up there at Disneyland Tower. So I think we're going to see that more. And my other theory on that is the price of points has just gone up so astronomically. People can't afford to buy in enough points to stay in a 2-bedroom.
Especially because it's going to be restricted. That's the other thing. This will be under those new restrictions.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to make it more accessible to people, to more people.
I will say though, Chad, you kind of ruined us because this last time we went into a 1-bedroom.
No, we had a 2-bedroom.
We had a 2-bedroom.
Yeah.
But
for
then,
the first time.
We're like, okay, now we're gonna have to do 1-bedroom.
It was a lock off, so yeah.
And this is.
I told him, I was like, well, Chad always says that once you do the 1-bedroom, you never go back.
You'll never go back.
So yeah,
It's hard.
Speak on our second resale contract because we need more points to get the 1-bedroom. Thanks.
Yep. It's
Well, the good news is you're comfortable with split stays, so you're all right.
Yeah.
We do. We find a way to make the points, maximize them by doing it that way. Studio for a few days because I'm not in the room, but I always got to have a little bit of space, at least 1 or 2 days. So.
Well,
and Mary's just my sister here, right? Because she goes, I don't like a studio. And to be honest with you, if I'm going to take a studio at Walt Disney World, I either want it at Poly where I've got the extra space, the extra bathroom, or I want it over at Old Key West where I get that second full bed. Okay.
The Riviera studio, I think it's like 425 square feet. It's a good studio too.
Well, I never stay in studios. They're fine. The worst one I think was Bay Lake Tower. That was really tight.
It's small, right?
Yeah, it's small. Well, there was 3 of us.
Square footage small, and then it's got a design layout where it has this kitchenette room.
Yeah, it kind of sticks out.
Whereas all of the other kitchenettes are galley style, so they take up a hallway. Here they have to carve out a big section of the room to give it a dedicated hallway that only works for that room. So
very small.
Got several good questions popping in all of a sudden.
Yeah, loads.
Yeah, I'm telling you, right? Harry was saying that she prefers a 1-bedroom for her husband and I. And this is our buddy Andrew over here saying 2 bedrooms only. And then, of course, this is the guy who coined the phrase in the My DVC Points community. Studios are just a flop house. So, of course, he would chime in at this. So, yeah, thank you, Andrew.
David's asked a question.
Evolution of how you move through your DVC membership. Like you start off intending to only use studios, and then you get a taste of the 1-bedroom, and then you go to the 2-bedroom.
Then
your kids get older too; they grow.
What were you saying, Susie?
David's asked a question about UCA, which is something I always get confused about as well. Going to Disneyland this October, and is UCA is October, so we'll be able to book points. Just above. Few messages back.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. So
There you
okay.
go.
I'm going to go to
So-
Disneyland this October. My calendar is October. Will I be able to book? Is your use year October there, David?
Yeah, the use
So-
year is really not the
I think that's
key.
what I
The
mean.
key is 7 months before you'd be coming, because it'll be a 7-month window you'll be using your points. So that would be July.
March? Was it?
No, I think July for October.
Yeah.
Let's see. No, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Yeah,
10
7
minus
months.
I was just
5.
using my.
So-
I was just using my app.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So you just got to book it 7 months based on the day you're going to go. But on the DVC, book my trip. It'll show you. It'll tell you basically how far out you can book for the 7-month window. So just watch that and get on as soon as you can. And but I will give you a little bit of heads up, David. Trying to get Grand Californian can be brutal. It's just brutal. It's hard to get it. And so most of we take a lot of trips to Disney and we use our DVC points. And more often than not, we actually use our points to stay at Disneyland Hotel through the collections. So it costs us more points than it would if it was a DVC price. So that's why the towers are really going to help us, because we're already staying at Disneyland Hotel half the time. So be a lot less points. But
Yeah.
look
Right, do you
into
have to do
that.
over
if
the
you can't
phone?
Yeah, you do have to do that
Can't
over the
do it
phone.
online.
Can't do that
No,
online.
no.
But I'd go on, see if you can get Grand Californian. If you can't, take a look and see if it fits your point usage, what
And
you're
what's
willing to spend.
availability like for that?
I've never had a problem getting but part of that reason is because it costs.
They're
more
using
points.
cash room inventory.
Exactly.
So they're taking some of your points and then they're paying cash for you to go to a cash room.
Exactly.
And then they're taking your points and then they're trying to take a reservation and sell that for cash.
So in
Okay?
other words,
So what-
they're not running out of DVC rooms. They're selling a cash room. So.
Yeah.
So do you think it's better to do that, or do you think it's better to rent your points and pay actual cash?
Rent and pay cash
Hmm.
by
Mm.
far.
Mhm.
Because when you do the math on it, they end up paying you about $7.20 a point. And you could take poly points for sure, Copper Creek, a little less demand there, but you could get $16 a point over at DVC rental store. So would you rather have $16 a point or $7.20 a point? Okay.
Yeah.
That's
And
like a no-brainer question.
Yeah.
Well, there's a little more to it than that, unfortunately, because some of the resorts you can't get $16 a point for, like Saratoga.
Yeah.
So, and
But
I've
she
run
said
a
earlier
number-
she had
Yeah.
Polynesian and Copper
Mhm.
Creek. So
Yeah,
I
and
knew
she
where she
does.
had. But
So,
Yeah.
but the question is, which is better? And if you really want to run the numbers, because sometimes it's better and sometimes it's a wash. For us, it was pretty much a wash, but because I don't have nice, expensive points like you have, so.
Well, also there's a convenience factor if it's worth
Uh-huh.
it. For the
Yeah.
convenience.
But I rent points. I rent some of my points almost every year, and it's a long story why. But it's so I've gotten real used to it. The process. It's not bad, but still, it's tricky.
Yep. Kelly asked a really good question here as well. And Kelly, if you could join us, that'd be great because we'd like to ask you some questions with this one. She goes, we don't own yet, but we're looking to buy. We always need a 2-bedroom and have no issues staying at a variety of resorts, but prefer to stay in one location all week. Where's the best place for us to buy?
Hmm.
And so it sounds like you're going to be happy anywhere. Okay. So if you're not going to be one of those people that go, I'm just not going to be happy if I'm not at Grand Flow, or I'm not going to be happy if I'm not at a club level, or I'm not going to be happy if you're like my family, which we love all the resorts for all the variety of reasons, and we like staying in different locations. At that point in time, the question is okay, if you're going to be happy any place, then are you a value buyer? Okay. And a value buyer comes into this and says, I'm going to be happy any place. I want to get the most amount of points possible for the lowest price, or I want the most amount of points possible for the lowest annual dues, because over time that makes that up. Right. So I'm thinking if you're happy any place, a Saratoga contract would be awesome for you, especially on resale, because you've got all 14 of the classic resorts available to you. And that would work out well. Okay. And you can get a pretty 2 bedrooms. You can get well, at the 7-month mark, they're not as difficult to get as a studio, but they're not as easy to get as a 1-bedroom. Unless
Right.
you're talking boardwalk that only has lock-offs, then you've got the same fight that a studio person has because you have to have a studio and a 1-bedroom. Does that make sense? So I'm thinking Saratoga. What do you guys think for?
I would add to that too, probably another good one, and especially if you're wanting a little bit more length on your contract, is Animal Kingdom. Main reason is because Animal and Saratoga are such large resorts, so they have lots of inventory. So,
Yeah, but unless you want club level or value, you can get that at any time and not have to pay the highest dues in Walt Disney World. So that's my
Riviera is higher.
right.
We know.
Animal Kingdom's not the highest.
No, it's
Okay.
not.
It used to be until Riviera opened up. Okay.
Yeah.
And then Copper Creek was kind of vying for that position for a while as well. But
Another one might be Old Key West. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying if you don't want to stay at Saratoga, and you want something to last longer, and you want to have an 11-month opportunity, then Animal Kingdom makes sense. Old Key West might be another one too because it has a lot of inventory.
Question sort of for her would be like, what time of year do you like to travel?
Yeah.
Because we typically have gone more in the winter or sometimes the fall. And so the weather has always been pretty good, but then we're starting to get into more of a cycle where we're going every summer, sometimes in addition. And what we're finding is that, like last summer, we tried Saratoga Springs for the first time.
Oh,
We were not loving having the moderate kind of resort transportation system in the summer. If it was January, that doesn't bother me at all. But so like I would ask that question of when do you want to go? Because if it's going to be July or August, I want to be in a place with air conditioned hallways like Riviera or Animal Kingdom or Bay Lake Tower or something like that. But if it's, great weather, then anywhere is great. And probably Saratoga Springs is the best value.
yeah, and that comes in as well is okay. If you're talking, you want to go food and wine times or run Disney weekend times. That's pretty much a buy where you want to stay kind of a period. Okay. And so
Or
you
what
could be,
park you want to go to a lot.
yeah. So that would be a factor there as well. But for a first contract, I wouldn't hesitate at picking up a Saratoga resale and figuring out where you could go. Because I could even tell you if you bought Saratoga resale, you could use it for a couple of years and sell it for what you got into it with no skin lost. Okay. That's kind of been the history of it. I have one that I paid 85 a point for. It's 225 point contract. I've now used 4 or 5 years worth of points, so over 1,000 points off of it, and I could sell it for what I got into it, even after paying commissions on the real estates and the closing fees and all that kind of stuff. So it's been a great contract to just get in, try it, and then get out if you want, or move to something that better suits you once you know what you're doing.
So do many people do this where they get like a Vero Beach or a Hilton Head, just a big fat contract from one of those, and then just never actually own? I mean, just always book it 7 months. I mean, I haven't heard of very many people.
There's people out there that really, because they want the lower initial cost, so they're willing to pay on the back end in dues, and you'll see a lot of people buy Vero Beach for that reason. And because they're happy with it and they don't mind the dues.
I think a few years ago it was even more so. Slow down a little bit now, only because the dues are so high there. They keep climbing and climbing. But no, exactly. They're so cheap that if that's what they're doing it for, they're just looking to get the least expensive, like Chad said, up front. Not going to take a lot of money to buy those, get into that contract. So
yeah,
get my tax return, go buy me some points.
Do you want to go buy some more points?
No.
Okay.
Not right now.
Yes, I do, but I'm not going to.
We already bought them.
Yeah, that's true too. So let's see if there's so Angel asked this question. I'm not an owner, but how does this work? Also, how does one rent points? How does one learn if 17 a point is how much? Curious that I've never seen any of the rentings. And no, don't worry about the stupid questions. We
No,
We think anybody with questions is a valid person, and we answer
Mhm.
that's
everything.
right. No such
Okay.
thing as a stupid question, because
Right. I
if
mean,
so,
we'll
we're
geek out
all
with the.
stupid in this podcast because we've asked the same question somewhere along the line.
Oh yeah, yeah. So, I think the best place to go start is dvcrentalstore.com. I think they have some tutorial videos out there on how their renting process works, and they definitely sponsor our show and our platform. So I like to send everybody there that I can. But really, when you're renting points, you're coming back in and you've got a member who wants to do something else, like go on a cruise, like we've talked about, or a member who says, "Hey, look, it's not in the budget for me to go to Disney this year." I think I've interviewed some people that had a foundation repair on their house, so they had to cancel their vacation because they were just cash strapped. And so they rented out their points and got cash to come back in and deal with their little emergency. And it helped another family like yours go to Disney and try it all out. So,
And on the rental site, Angel, it's very, very simple and straightforward. It'll ask you what's your primary resort, maybe a secondary. It'll ask you when do you want to go. It'll calculate the points for you, tell you, and it will tell you exactly how much the points cost. Points can vary depending upon where you're renting or whether it's real quick or you got a lot of time. But there won't be any question as to what it'll cost you. It'll walk you right through it before it ever asks for anything from you. It'll explain it all to you.
and you can just pick up the phone and call them as well.
And that too, yeah.
Okay.
Which is
Because
great. You can answer your
I
questions.
wouldn't, this is just my own personal take on this. I would not recommend somebody new to try to do a private rental. Okay. Like straight from a member. There's just too many opportunities for you to get taken advantage of by some not so great people. I would definitely use a rental company store like DVC Rental Store for the simple fact that there's a guarantee there, there's safety there, there's a known established business. Once you learn the ropes, if you want to come back into private rentals, that's maybe another story. I still prefer renting through the rental company.
Absolutely.
That's my advice, and that's what I do as well. I've done some private rentals, but I still prefer to just deal with them and let them get a couple of bucks per point out of the deal.
Rich asked this question earlier too, similar. We might want to answer that one. Do you see it there about RCI? He had asked earlier something else similar to that.
There was a really good episode you did on this, wasn't there?
Russ and I talked about it on a live one day, and I don't think we've done it. We covered it a little bit in his interview, okay? But we really haven't dived into RCI yet for the simple fact that I don't think it's that great a value at 95% of the locations. But Rich asked the question, can we use our point for RCI location other than what's on the DVC link?
And I think earlier he asked if kind of from the perspective of, can we use our points at other resorts? In other words, just go to RCI. It sounded like go to RCI, find a resort you like, and then tell them I want to use points. And the answer is pretty sure no. You have to do it through DVC.
Yeah, anything through RCI, you've got to go through member services with.
Yeah.
Okay. We can click a link through the Disney website and get over to the RCI website. And there's ways that you can come in there and set up a search on there. And if you want a hot property like Hawaii or something like that, you pretty much have to get on the RCI wait list 2 years in advance. And yeah, it's 2 years for their wait list and then go from there. But for the most times when I look at what DVC Rental Store is going to pay me for renting my points cash and what I can go pay cash for some other timeshare or someplace else in the planet, I usually end up with a pile of money left over if I rent my points out. Okay. That's just because most timeshares don't have the demand that we have in DVC. We've got people lined up begging for our points because the mouse is so popular. Whereas a timeshare in Biloxi, Mississippi,
I couldn't pay him to take my old timeshares. Please.
Right.
Enjoy. No.
Yeah.
Right. So
I mean, I heard an interesting thing about just normal timeshares where a lot of them don't have an expiration date. And so then what happens is if you leave it to someone and they're still stuck paying the dues, even if they never use it.
Yep.
So it's like, in some ways it kind of makes
there's no mechanism for 99.9% of them to sell them. There's nobody, you can't get rid of them. So now you're paying. I got one from my mom when she passed away.
Wow.
Had to walk away from it. Couldn't give it away.
It's the one good thing about RCI that if you've got points that you can't bank because you've accidentally let them expire, then that's the one time it's good.
Oh,
Yeah,
that might make
Did I
sense.
make that up?
yeah. If you're gonna like your back is against the wall and you can't do this, but even then, I'm gonna go to like the distressed point program over at DVC rental store and get like $10. Okay.
Yeah.
So even if I'm only getting $10 a
Yeah.
point as opposed to 16, like $10 is better than nothing. Okay.
I definitely was under the impression that the companies that are renting out the points, they really, really want points. I know my
yeah.
Oh yeah.
rents, he does his reservations as rentals, and he said he's always just waiting and waiting and waiting for the points to come, like for them to happen.
I put some of my points up first part. Well, technically, I guess it would have been the last part of last year. But anyway, told them this is how many I want to rent. Made it available within 24 hours. They were gone.
Yeah.
So do you have to like book the room for them, or how does that work?
Yeah. They'll contact me back and say we have a client. They want to stay from this date to this date for this many points.
Okay.
Are you still wanting to do that? I say yes. Then they send me their deets, so all their details, and I go on and book it.
Yeah, and you book it for them the same way you would book it for your family, except you're typing their name and their address and their phone number and their email.
So it's real simple.
In the forms, just like it was yours. And then, after you do this, maybe 10, 15 minutes later, depending on how fast Disney systems are working, you get the guaranteed email from Disney saying, hey, this is your reservation number.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me.
And depending upon the rental company, then as soon as I send them the confirmation number, most of them, I think they pay you like 70% right then.
Yeah,
Because they'll
DVC rental
charge.
store does like 75% right
Yeah.
up front.
So
Okay?
I would tell them on the idea that we're going to rent out some of our points, and then we never do. We use them all.
Yeah. Well, that's a better way to use them.
You did that hook, huh? Well,
Yeah.
rent them.
It is set.
Like, don't
The hook is
worry, we
set.
can rent them out. It's okay.
That's
We should do a show on like the top lies you tell your spouse when you're buying into DVC. Okay.
Exactly.
And don't worry, honey, we'll rent the points.
Guess how much I saved?
In there, you can in the resort. You can.
Like that's my chance to use it on my wife. Guess how much I saved? I bought them resale. Look.
Yep. So, honey, we can rent them. Yeah.
By the way, I'm sorry about that. Angel, if that's correct, or is Angel, I don't know for sure, but I just saw you post. He said, thanks so much for the information. Mahalo. There you go, buddy.
So
There you go.
Alani.
Right there. That's
Yeah,
right. Let's all
there
go
you
see
go.
Angel. Let's go hang out with him. If he's
I'm
in
telling
Hawaii.
you. So
When are you going, by the way? Sorry to change it, but Chad, weren't you scheduled to take a trip over there?
yeah, June of 2021,
June.
we're still looking at. I've got to firm up the kids' calendars and make 100% certain that I can do that. But I've probably got 7 or 8 families that's going to join us for a
Cool.
listener meetup.
I don't know if Susie can do it. I don't know. You have to go the other way around the world, Susie, to get over to Hawaii, maybe.
I'm a teacher. I can't go in June.
Oh,
so-
yeah. Oh, never mind.
And what's with the UK people and teaching in June? I mean, that's like prime time to be off here at least. stateside,
No, we get
right?
July and August.
I was going to say, not prime time for them, though, probably. So,
Sadly.
yeah.
Yeah. So, so he says, "Wow, cool, aloha," and yeah, we'll be looking forward. So anybody that's local there, come on over and meet us, because I think we're only going to plan like 3 days of event activities. I think we're going to go to definitely the luau there at Alani together as a
Mhm.
big group, and then maybe something else as
Well, and Chad had talked to me before, too, when you get close to it, weren't we going to do like a planning podcast to talk about some of the little things you can do and stuff?
Yeah.
I can tell
We
you
have somebody
that
who-
this trip, probably the best use of my points ever.
Got it. We have somebody who joined us. Let me see if they want to come back in. So, hey, P, how are you? Can you hear us?
How are we doing, guys?
Hey,
nice,
doing
Hi.
good, man.
nice
So what-
thumb.
Yeah.
I didn't expect Chad to bring me in here.
Oh, I've been saying for like an hour and a half now. Come click the link
Somebody
and join
come
it. We
hang
can do
out.
this. So what's
How's
going on, man?
everyone
What
doing today?
kind of questions do you have for us?
No questions. I just tagged in to see who else had questions. The question I'd like answered is Disney gonna act on Rofer for the contract I just put in? That's the biggest question this week.
Okay, well, what'd you try to buy? So
Just picked up another 125 of Polynesian, or tried to pick up. We'll see.
You know what?
Mind telling us what your price was?
Yeah, so 0 points last year, 33 coming this year, 125 and 21. Offer accepted at 131 a point.
Oh, you want to be all right.
It sounds.
Well, it's like this. They have yet to buy back a Polynesian.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
exactly.
As I told my wife,
They don't.
though, I haven't seen one go at 131, so I hope I'm not the first.
Yeah, that's pretty high, and they're not buying it. They have not bought it back that I know.
I don't think they need a lot of Polynesian.
No, because
I
they're
know.
still trying to. Yeah, well, they just kind of liquidated their own supply. So
Right,
and
and
they'll expand.
The
And they've
direct
priced
price
it
is
so
high.
high. Yeah, to your point, Jennifer, they've priced it so high, they don't want people buying it. So, not
Yeah,
direct.
and we bought it initially. I mean, our first 150 points were at 160. I'm looking at what they're getting now on points. I'm paying $29 a point less than I paid direct from Disney initially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a smoking deal.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
your
we'll
chances are really good in
Yeah, I
getting
think
it.
so.
And drop us a note and let us know if you end up get to close on that deal. Okay, because that
Yeah,
would
I'll
be
definitely let you guys know because listening through the show, I had said the last show you guys brought on, I think Derek, talking about what a smoking deal Poly was. It was just the push I needed. So I'll let you guys know for sure.
oh awesome. Because like I said, I have been saying for 6 months now, Poly is a smoking deal to come in and buy. And then I was talking to Andy Berry this week as well, and he gave me another pro insider tip. Was a lot of people veer away from international buyers or international sellers because, like, let's say if Susie gets ready to sell her contract, there's a whole lot more paperwork for her to sell it than for us to sell it here in the U.S. And Disney typically doesn't buy those over Rofer because they don't want to deal with the international paperwork either.
Good point.
So if you're looking for a deal on that, don't shy away from the international buyers because you're really likely to pass Rofer with them. So
Well, we'll find out. It's been out for about 10 days now, so we'll see. It looks like
Yeah.
2 to 3 weeks has been the average.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and they can go as long as they want to. Okay, that's. I know there's a 30-day thing in the deal, but nobody ever forces their hand to do that, and they go as long as they want to go.
We
We'll
had
find
our
out. We've still got our points.
we're closing on one right now, and it was in Rofer in January, and I think it was only like 12 days, maybe. It's pretty quick. I was really
That's
amazed.
pretty fast turnaround.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
have
The
a,
buyback numbers are amazingly low too. From
Yes.
December through January, they're buying hopefully nothing so far. Let's hope it keeps that way.
Yeah, we got a good one through too, so we were really happy.
And it
So-
could be that their Riviera plan is working. Okay, that with these restricted points, people are feeling the pinch of I can only stay at the Classic 14,
Mhm.
and this FOMO is there. That it could be that plan is working, and people it's helping them sell more direct too. So we don't really know what's going on there yet. There's just not enough time.
Well, the latest report on Riviera shows amazing sales. It's the best January they had. I mean, it sold a lot better than I expected it to.
Yeah, it did, and I believe it or not, I heard a lot of people comment on our review show of Riviera saying that helped them get past the hurdle and buy there. And because I was looking at it going, okay, I'm going to get hate mail galore for me talking about the Riviera restrictions and the fact that I really wouldn't buy there, but I think it's a great resort. And now I hear back from all these people saying, dude, your series just pushed me over the edge. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm glad I helped you make a decision. Okay. But I really wasn't anticipating that. And I'm pleasantly surprised that series did as well as it did.
So sorry, I have to ask the panel a question here. As far as the bungalows go, right? I have this scheme in my head that one day
There you go.
All right, my man. Right?
I don't want to rent, but what I'm wondering is I'm hoping that Disney one day takes like half of those and converts them to like maybe a 1-bedroom. Like I'm not sure if they could actually do that, but
Like
maybe
a studio, like divide it somehow, make it a lock off.
Divided.
Yeah,
I think
divide
they will, and they'll provide you with a unicorn that'll be parked right out front. There's so few of them. I mean, I hear you. That'd be nice, but there's so few of them. I don't know.
I don't want them driving up the price of studios by making the bungalow cheaper. That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the other problem they have there. They don't have the wiggle room to come back in and slide those points to something else.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I've got to say though, when I was looking at going like last weekend for months out, I would have paid the bungalow prices because it's on my bucket list.
Mhm.
They were sold out.
Sold out.
Okay.
Wow.
They were sold
Right.
out like,
Mhm.
and now that I'm looking at it, I'm going, they're selling out more than I thought they would.
And
And
the interesting part of that conversation is that I was, I pay attention to what people are renting and when they're able to move. And quite consistently, you can get Polynesian studios at 7 months. So
Mhm.
clearly, even though numerous points were sold that were allocated to the bungalows, people are not using them at Polynesian. So I think until such time as you see the studios being sold out at 11 months, similar to where you have Beach Club around Food and Wine, I don't think they're under any pressure to move it because they can just then sell those bungalow whatever they need on the cash days.
Mhm. It's 60 days, they go into breakage and they're selling them and discounting them for whatever they need to.
Exactly.
maybe-
People aren't scrambling that hard for Poly Studios.
Yeah, maybe it was all
Nothing.
played by Disney to make it so, okay, we have all these studios that aren't going to always get booked, right, by DVC people, and then they're like, okay, now we can do cash stays here, but also kind of get the DVC people to front the money on developing the property, right? I don't
I don't know if they.
know.
I don't know if they're I'm not that jaded that like they're doing some dark evil plan here, but I can definitely say the contract is slanted in their favor at 60 days for breakage.
Yeah.
Okay. Because they keep the first, they give the members back the first 2% of the operating budget of annual income, and the rest of it is straight into the mouse's pocket. Okay. However much that ends up being. So they're not dumb, but
They're not building properties as fast as they are because they're losing money on DVC. That's for sure.
Yeah.
yeah, they're definitely not hurting, and they're definitely not losing out on anything that we do. So that one is a guaranteed granted. So okay, guys, well, I'm going to come back in and just kind of wrap up the show at this point in time. And thanks for joining us. And we look forward to hearing what's going on with your Polynesian contract, and hopefully some more people join us. We'll do more of these live panel discussions, and hopefully we can get a little culture here, people popping in. I think it's a little new when to just pop into a live show the way it does, but the technology makes it happen and it makes it work. So
Well,
thanks for
next time I'll even type out my whole name.
oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Right?
We just thought you were the artist formerly known as P.
Exactly.
Anyways, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a magical day, and we will talk with you guys next Sunday night on another live. And Wednesday night, Tony from DVC Rental Store will be dropping a podcast with him, hopefully, about doing cruise swaps. Okay. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a great one.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Thank you.